efforts to safeguard its stopping of criminal trials and civil trials, largely halting jury trials because of the pandemic. While it has evolved from that and returned to closer senses of operation, these individuals that were arrested, striking as they were and bringing the public's attention to the severity of it, for them to learn that people who were released on zero bail in an arrest that happened in November, their next court appearance is in March. When we worry about how we're going to deter further attacks or further such instances of late night burglaries or these smash and grabs, there's I believe, a preventive measure that is absent, and that is a deterrent value of people who are subject to being incarcerated and staying incarcerated, and also having a speedy trial, which would hold them accountable and allow for the appropriate punishment that's warranted. So what we need is, what I'm asking for is, we'll bring our attention to this, that the whole zero bail aspect, because of the COVID pandemic, be closely examined. We've seen auto thefts that began to rise after 10 years, Conan, of year after year reduction. With the beginning of the pandemic, that has changed course. Auto theft now over the last 2 years is up more than 52%, and our arrests are up more than 33%. So we're arresting people over and over again for auto theft where they recognize it's a zero bail offense. That's promoting the chronic offender, or allowing the chronic offender to be out in our community and commit new crimes without consequence. And that's got to change.
So your issue is with the judges.
My issue is not one of argument, fight, or dispute. My point here is that we all have to work together, and we all have a hand in this. Law enforcement, police officers have a responsibility. The district attorney's office does, the city attorney's office does, and so does the bench. What I'm asking for is that, as what we expect, and in talking with DA Gascon, he's assured me that these individuals that are involved in these organized theft crews and these smash and grabs, that he's going to bring the full weight of his office, the full weight of prosecutions against each of those individuals. And as he does that, he enjoys the police department and other law enforcement agencies support and appreciation, because that's the role of the prosecutor. What we're also looking at is that the judges have to play a role in this as well, because they're ultimately the ones that determine whether or not the person remains in custody because of the continued threat of additional crimes and additional violence or additional loss in our community, or that they can be released safely back. And then also lastly, the zero bail, or the person being out on their own recognizance, in my view, has allowed trial dates to be postponed months. And when that happens, these individuals are continuing in the community, and many people can look at them and say, what was the consequence of their offense? They're still back here, and there's been no trial, there is no punishment. And I think that is allowing others to see a very permissive system, and one that has been weakened. And we need to ensure that as we see these threats emerging, that we're attending to them with a higher level of urgency. I'll close by saying this isn't just retail thefts. We've talked about this in the last week or so with this type of item, but I've made mention about this before, where the violence that we've seen in the last 18 months, shooting violence, the number of homicides are up 45% over a 2-year period in Los Angeles. Shooting violence is up more than 50% in the sense of shooting victims. And while our arrests for violent crime, including homicides, are up, what we're also finding is that carrying a gun is much more pervasive today. In fact, robberies today have a greater percentage of being involving individuals carrying firearms than we've seen in years past. And when we look into understand why, we find that carrying a firearm in a public setting is a zero bail matter. We had a woman that was arrested for carrying a firearm in Los Angeles just 2 months ago. The next day, she was already back out in the street, picked up another gun, and took a hostage. I know this because it ended up being the actions of our SWAT and responding officers that saved that hostage's life and took her into custody. Now, she awaits trial on a kidnap and attempt murder charge because she fired her second pistol at the officers. But she should never have been out there the second day if we had the provisions that we had just 2 years ago. And these incremental steps have a cumulative effect over time.
You've said that a lot of the stolen property from retail theft is being sold online.
There are people out there selling stolen material in an online market, and that's being fed again by people who are looking for a deal. And the merchandise is not limited to just what has happened with these smash and grabs. We also have a series that has grown this year. We have more than 150 follow home, follow off robberies, including 2 murders and a number of other shooting victims that have been targeted because they're driving high-end expensive vehicles and wearing expensive jewelry. And we have made 36 arrests over the course of this year. And in our debriefing and analysis of those individuals, we find that they have social media posts, for example, that have them bragging about the tens of thousands of dollars that they are making by selling this and fencing this material off to ready receivers. But we also want the public to know that they're feeding this, that people who are willing to buy expensive jewelry, to buy expensive high-end purses and clothing at substantially discounted rates, particularly from these unauthorized, unlicensed establishments, that it's very possible that they're buying this very stolen material, and that they're feeding the appetite for those crimes that we're seeing here in our streets.
Los Angeles Police Chief Michael Moore, thanks for taking the time and good luck.
Thank you.
Up next, California.